WKYC.com's Facebook page. I'm meteorologist Michael Estime. As you can see there, boy, in downtown Cleveland, we're tracking a whole lot of heavy rain, some gusty winds in there as well. And it's one of the reasons why for today, throughout the afternoon and then throughout the early evening hours, damaging winds and isolated pockets of flooding with that torrential rain will be an issue with the storms that we see firing on up. So let's show you what it looks like outside as we speak. You can see there's a whole lot of activity lighting up the radar, especially right along the north coast. And where we're seeing the most significant of that heavy rain and those heavy thunderstorms is really up toward the islands. So let's zero in. You'll notice that over the past 10 to 15 minutes, over 50 cloud-to-ground lightning strikes. Again, this just passed over Catawba Island, heading over parts of, say, Put-in Bay and Kelly's Island. So if you're joining us from the islands, please make sure that you are staying inside until these storms have passed. Right on the leading edge of that, by the way, is where we're going to see the strongest of the winds. So if you are a mariner or a boater and perhaps you're joining us on your phone or your tablet and you're joining me around, say, Avon Lake area and you just hit the water, you're noticing those really dark clouds off toward your west. You'll want to stay very far away from that because, again, keep in mind that lightning can actually strike 10 miles away from the parent thunderstorm. Again, here's where Put-in Bay is, some heavy showers and thunderstorms just crossing over and just passing you, heading generally up toward the northeast. And then right along the north coast, again, from Vermilion over toward Lorain, you're seeing some heavier showers, darker clouds. Thank goodness, as of this point, we're not tracking any severe storms right now, but that may be changing, though, throughout the afternoon. So you'll want to make sure that you're staying weather aware and staying with us right here on Facebook and, of course, on WKYC. As we showed you before, did you see that tower cam from CSU that we were showing you? That is nearly a rainfall rate at nearly 3 inches per hour. That is the torrential rainfall that we're tracking. Good news is that most of these storms are moving at about 25 to close to 30 miles per hour off toward the east-northeast. But around the airport, just north of the airport, I wouldn't be too surprised if there were perhaps a couple of flight delays. As you know, typically when aircraft are flying and landing into Cleveland Hopkins International Airport, they actually take a flight path kind of around downtown before making their way to the airport. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw some flight delays, given the fact that there's going to be some rerouting taking place. But either way, some heavy rainfall heading up towards, say, Euclid, eventually into Bracknell. You'll notice that in Chester and parts of Geauga County seeing some torrential rain. And then for my friends in Ashtabula County toward Andover, heading over the Ohio-Pennsylvania state line, we're also tracking some heavy showers and thunderstorms. A couple of interesting features that I want to point out to you. Sometimes what will happen with thunderstorms is as that rain slams into the ground, it creates what's called an outflow boundary. Basically what that is an area of wind. And you can see that that thunderstorm in Oberlin has created an outflow boundary. That's what that light green is right along 301 from Grafton down toward Wellington. And then there was a thunderstorm over toward Chippewa Lake that also put down a pretty significant outflow boundary. And what we're waiting for is for those two outflow boundaries, you can see one right here and one right here, to converge. And as they do so, possibly at times you'll then see an eruption of storms. So we'll wait for that. If you're joining me from, say, Grafton down toward Litchfield and you're thinking about running out the door on your lunch break right now, you're not seeing any rain, but of course you are seeing those clouds. Watch out because we're expecting a good little thunderstorm complex to possibly blossom and develop off of that outflow boundary. Akron down towards Canton area, you can see a couple of spotty showers and thunderstorms moving into downtown Akron as we speak. Again, good news is nothing is severe right now. We were earlier this afternoon tracking a severe thunderstorm warning that was up toward the islands and then up back towards, say, Sandusky, Erie counties and all. But let's take you through time. Here's what your afternoon looks like. I think that now through the 5 o'clock hour, you're heading home from work. You're picking up the little ones from perhaps the babysitters. We're expecting for scattered showers and thunderstorms to persist. So our chief meteorologist, Betsy Kling, will, of course, be in for the news at 6, 7, and 11 p.m. this evening. She will be tracking scattered showers and thunderstorms by that point. So make sure that you tune on in so that you know exactly what's going on. Here's what 9 p.m. looks like. I think that once we lose the daytime heating, sunset, late 8 o'clock hour, closer to 9 p.m., we'll then lose the energy to support those thunderstorms. So overnight tonight, maybe just a couple of little splash and dash showers, but nothing that significant. And then by tomorrow morning and through tomorrow afternoon, again, another round of wet weather on the way. So prepare for that on your Wednesday as well. Your Universal Windows Direct full 7-day forecast in the meantime, showing you temps today in the mid-80s. Good news about those thunderstorms is that that'll help to cool down the air outside. So once you see those clouds begin to build, once you experience those showers and those thunderstorms, and maybe you get the whiff, the smell of rain, we can certainly smell that here in downtown Cleveland. That's where our studio is located. Kind of a cool little feature, very earthy in its smell, but that'll help to cool things down. So although we're going with mid-80s today, once you see the rainfall and the clouds move in, that'll cool things down significantly. Low 80s Wednesday, Thursday, before we, thank goodness, dry things out Friday and into this upcoming weekend. You can always connect with me not only on Facebook, but also on Twitter and on Instagram. We'll be posting more live weather updates for you there as well. But again, just to reiterate, the main threats from what we'll see today will not only be perhaps some damaging winds capable of bringing down a couple of trees, maybe even a few power lines, but also the isolated flood threat as well. I'll dig into just a couple of these storms before we send you on your way. But again, just keep in mind that if you plan on being out and about today, not a bad idea whatsoever to hang on to that umbrella. Downtown Cleveland, especially if you're about to head out on your lunch break, again, tracking some really heavy rainfall right now moving toward the east. Nothing severe, but from Westlake over toward Lakewood, again, it'll be a heavy thunderstorm complex that we're seeing there. And one of the ways that we can actually kind of measure and gauge how intense these storms are at times is by looking at their heights. And you'll notice that whenever we see thunderstorm heights capping 30,000 feet or so, again, it means a more significant thunderstorm is there. So you'll notice where those heights are that we were just talking about. We'll put it into a three-dimensional view of the radar, and again, you can see those red pillars. That indicates where the torrential rain is falling in parts of Wadsworth over toward North Olmsted. And then again, once we get beyond that pillar, you can see in downtown some pretty significant pillars of rainfall as well. I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw some small hail out of that deal. So again, just to reiterate, we'll send you on back, but you can always connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram, and we'll have more weather updates throughout your afternoon. Be safe and stay weather aware here on your Tuesday.